Okay, so today, I have on recording. We're not showing faces as far as the person on the phone, but we're talking to Dage. We're going to call her Dage. Okay, so what we're talking about is being in a relationship. How do you know if you should be in a relationship with this person? Are they even worth your time? So that's where I want to start. With this person that you're talking to, what qualities does he have that makes you say, hey, he was worth a second time talking to?
I mean, he works. He's not like rude. He don't be involved with people like you know how most dudes hang with their friends and stuff. Like he does that, but he also know when it's time to go. Like he's not a one who sits and lingers around his friends all day.
Okay. Okay, you are how old?
I am 22.
Okay, see, that's a good age. That's that beginning. I mean, you've had experiences, other relationships, right?
Yeah.
So, for all the ladies, I know one thing that I pay attention to if I'm dating somebody is what is Christ like in your life? I mean, they don't have to be perfect, but do you know him? Jesus. Like, what are some deal breakers as far as dating goes for you? Like, what is something that you're just like, nope, can't do it?
I mean, like if you like gang bang or like sell drugs or any of that, like it's a no for me. Like, cause I'm 22, and you know, like people my age, that's all they want to do: flex, gang bang, be in the streets, get shot. Like, no, we're not doing that. Like,
I mean, because that's a
and
proven. You're absolutely right. Because I know that for one, look to me, the gang life, you go to prison or to the grave, and I really don't have time. I mean, because you're right, you have a whole future ahead of you. So,
and if you have too many kids, like, don't nobody want to be with nobody who got four baby mamas and no 6 kids. No, I don't want that. You gotta have like one or two. Like, that's pushing it though. Like, we're 22. Like, everybody who's 22, 24 don't have kids. Like,
okay, so you're one of the ones who don't have kids. I know, right?
yeah, I have 0 kids, and I don't want to be with nobody who has a whole lot of kids. Like,
And I'm sure a lot of ladies feel that. Like, if you don't have kids, do you want that in your life? Or are you okay, like she said, with one or two kids? So, if you're in a relationship with somebody with kids, what are the deal breakers for that? Like, how are you if there's another person you've got to deal with? Like, how are you with the baby mama? How does that go for people your age? Because, look, I'm
like sometimes,
41.
sometimes, women like they want to argue and fight with you because they still want their baby dad. Like, they want to be a family. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking nobody for that, but like, if you're not together, you're not together. You know what I mean? If he don't want you and he's willing to date other people, you need to get the program. Like, don't chase no dude.
I was talking to Dage before getting on video, and one thing that I was telling her was, I do believe that dating is kind of like doing a job application. And this just me. Maybe it'll bless somebody, but I do believe I need to know. You got 3 references. I need somebody that knows you, and this might happen later if they get a second date. Like, what does the ex say about it? Because it's always the woman's fault. The man is always like it was her, and the women are like it was him. Maybe their mom or somebody. Like, who really knows them? Like, I hear what you're saying, but do you work? How many kids you have? Um, pay attention to the things that matter and have those hard conversations. Like, what are some hard conversations that you all have had, or have you had them at all, to know if this person is worth being in your life?
Like, I'm very like super duper in my religion. Like, I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in God. I pray. I read the Bible. And I just I do want somebody who believes in Jesus in me. Like, so like I asked him, like, do you believe in, like, I just need you to believe in God. You know what I mean? Believe in Jesus, like that he was the Messiah. Like that's the biggest thing with me. Like you got to realize that Jesus is the Messiah. Like so, like I asked him about that or whatever, and he was like, but I get what he was saying. Like the way I am with God, you might not be like that with God. You know what I mean? Like,
You all may not be on the same level, and that's okay. But is it okay if he believes in Muhammad and you believe in Jesus? Is it okay
no,
if he believes in Buddha?
no, no.
I mean, see,
You
ladies,
can't
we're
believe in
laughing,
nothing.
but for real, these are hard
That's
conversations that you've got to have. Like, why go on a date with somebody 5 times and you've never even asked, like, hey, do you believe in Christ? Because if that's important to you, you want to ask what's important. And do you sometimes feel like kind of shy to ask him something, or do you feel like it's too soon?
no, like I'm upfront and personal with it. Like we really just started talking. So like I asked him the questions that are the red flags for me.
Right.
I know he has good credit. I know he's a hard worker. I know that like I know a lot about him already, but like I get what people say when like because when I say it, I mean like the way I praise God, you might not praise God that way. You know what I mean? I have said that to people. Like the way I do with Jesus and God is in a whole different way, probably how you do it. Because
Okay, so you've asked the hard questions that you've got to ask, and now, as a young lady, where do you go from here? Like when you're in the dating scene, a lady wrote a book called "There's Pee in the Dating Pool," and
yeah,
I agree. And a lot of times it's contaminated completely. So now that you've asked some questions, you feel like okay, he's of interest. Like, where do you go? And do you believe that waiting on sex is okay? Because for me, I think it complicates things during the dating process. What do you think about that?
like I don't want to have sex. Like the next person I have sex with is gonna be my husband. Like period. Like and like when I say I'm strongly firm in that, I'm strongly firm in that because like if y'all want the same things and you do end up being with this person, you know what I mean? Like we're not in an age or era like there's no we're in an age and era where there's no housewives anymore. You know what I mean? Like we all want to be side pieces, side biscuits, and
Side
we don't
biscuits.
want to be the main course. Like we're cool with messing with somebody's man. Like I don't want to be that. Like why can't we be wives no more? And then like when it comes to black people, because I am black, like we don't really get we don't get a ring. Like I know people who have been together for years and are not married. Like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm black, I want to be married, and that's that. Period. Like, and
And
I'm not
that's
your side
only
piece.
fair. That's only fair. A lot of women are okay being side pieces, but for you to be a young lady that wants to get married and stuff like that, do you find that men your age or around your age want that in a relationship? Because from me talking to men, I understand that they said they can't find any good women. They can't find. They said women don't want to be married anymore, and they just deal with the hand that they're given. So how do you feel
Yeah,
about that?
that's the one thing. Like with the dude I talk to right now, like he knows what I want. Like he knows. Like he was like, "So a man's gonna have to marry you, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." So he be joking and playing with me. He's like, "I guess I'm on the phone with my wife
Do you
because
feel
that's how
that
it's gonna
though?
be."
Like
Like,
when you're on the phone dating, and I'm asking these questions because I'm sure there's some ladies that are going to listen and might be thinking the same thing. When you're on the phone, are you on the phone talking to him as I'm trying to get to know him, or I just want a friend?
I'm trying to get to know you. Like,
Do you feel like he's on the same level?
yeah, like he be asking me a lot of stuff. Like he's not one of those bland people. Like we don't just sit on the phone and hear each other breathe. We're not one of them. Like we be talking about serious stuff. Like we have talked about our childhoods, how we grew up. Like and we have a lot that's relatable. And I don't know if I want somebody who's relatable with mine. Like I mean, like it's good because you don't have to really break it down to somebody who has like the same childhood as you.
Right.
But like what, like, sometimes I want a man with a good background, with good parents, you know, with,
And
I
that's
mean, it's
true. It's
okay
okay to have
not,
something different. A
and
lot
it's
of people feel like, a lot of people get together and they're just like, okay, they get together because they got the same problems. They fought those same demons. But I do believe that sometimes it's okay to be with somebody who had a healthy lifestyle. I mean, I was talking about that earlier too. I mean, we just jump into relationships. Like, I was being funny, but for real, we go on a date or two, all of a sudden I'm somebody's girlfriend. Like, I didn't even know I was your girlfriend. Like, do you feel like people rush the relationship?
absolutely like, and then when you said that, like, I have been in multiple relationships, and then I know I was in a relationship, but I went along with it because, oh, I'm his girlfriend because we did it.
Right?
Oh, I'm his girlfriend because he said so, and that's what I want. No, like, we need to have a legal agreement. Like, we need
I feel like there's a
like, we need to
proper
stop and think
way.
about these men because we be getting ourselves in situations over one day. Like,
Right.
not even, you could talk for 6 months. We do it, and we're together. Like, no.
I feel like one date, and this is for real, and it's been said other ways, but I believe one date is just that. It's just the interview. It's just a session. It's one date. Like, I'm not your girlfriend because we went out on one date. And unless you have a mental problem, ladies, that doesn't make him your man. Just because y'all went on a date and y'all shared the same burger and all that stuff, he's not your man. He's not asked you to be his. And I feel like there is a proper way. I wanted that where a man comes to me and we talk about whether or not we're going to do this and be in a relationship. But way too many times, as blacks, some whites, we just jump in. If he introduced you to his mama, yeah, this my girl. You're like, oh, he said I'm his girlfriend. And then you the girlfriend.
This is
So
mother.
after, okay, you said you want to be married. Do you think that that's going to be something that's hard to happen, or are you just believing for a
I
husband?
mean, like, I know what I want and exactly how I need it in a person. Like, when I say that, I know exactly what I want in my mind. That's how I want my man to be. Like, but like, it's gonna be. I'm not saying it might be harder. It might be easier because I know exactly what I want. But I know I have a more complicated order. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right,
and I need everything. Like, it's certain things that are critical that
right,
you have to have or you have to be my husband. Like, so it might be a little more difficult, and that's okay because I don't want to end up with the wrong person again.
right.
Because it don't take a year to know somebody.
And that's important. I think it's important that you know what you want, because if you don't know, then how can you be in a relationship with somebody? And I think that's a lot of women and men's problem. They're not sure of what they want. They're not even sure that they want a relationship, but they just want somebody. So,
Yeah,
does being lonely play a role in you wanting a relationship or no? You keeping it
yeah, and
real.
I'm trying to make sure that I'm not going through a phase where I'm lonely or I'm like I need comfort or something. Because like my dad just died and stuff, so I'm trying to make sure I'm not in a vulnerable state and
Right,
I'm not just rushing into something. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
I don't want to be vulnerable or rush into something. Like, if this is what it's supposed to be, when you gotta pray on it. Like, if this
right.
is what it is, like, let it be that. If it's not, just take it out, like, immediately. And when you said it to me earlier, I'm like, maybe I haven't asked God because I need comfort. Like, God, take this person out of my life. God will remove them immediately, and then you're gonna be sitting by yourself. Are you ready for that?
And that's hey, that's being for real. That's a real situation. After you ask, because people always say, just pray about it. I do. I've asked the Lord, like, is this person supposed to be in my life, whether it's a friend, lover, the job, whatever. And when we get the answer, sometimes people don't call back, and they're like, oh, he never called me back. Well, you asked the Lord to remove him if he wasn't for you, or the job never called back. I believe that the Lord knows what's ahead. Um, and he knows what's best for us. So a lot of people don't ask that question because they really don't want to answer. So do you agree to that? Like you do need to seek and ask, and so if this person is supposed to be in your life or not.
Yeah, like well, I pray about a lot of stuff, but I have not prayed on that recently because I'm gonna be honest. Like, I have not prayed on that because sometimes you get so wrapped up into the conversation and everything. Like, God, if he ain't for me, just take him. Like, remove him out of my life, like, immediately. Like, I did that for one of my ex boyfriends and he ended up going to jail. I was like, God.
Did you face that
Because
though? Like when you asked him to remove a person or something and he went to
he didn't
jail, did
take
you
him.
face that or were you still like, uh, did you
No, I
face
be
it?
like, I believe if you don't watch out for God's signs, like he will throw it at you. Like I'd rather you like me ask him and he remove them rather than going through a whole relationship with them and they end up doing something to me or I end up doing something to them. Like you never know. Like what if you pray that prayer over your significant other or the person you are trying to talk to, like God's gonna look out for you. Like don't wait 6 years in and then you realize like, oh, he's a woman beater or I don't want to be with him. I got other needs that need to be fulfilled, and he's not fulfilling it when God showed you that from the start. Like,
And you talked earlier about like your father passing, and I know you had several losses. Like a lot of people had a lot of losses these past few years. Do you believe that a lot of women go into relationships and marriage and things like that because of pain?
I really do believe that. Like, sometimes, like, you really just want somebody to talk to. I mean, I have several people to talk to, but everybody knows what swings between a man's legs. Like, not saying I have to do it, but women usually find comfort in men. Like, so, like, it's easy to, if you're not wise about it, it's easy to get manipulated by somebody or, to just get entwined with somebody because you are feeling a type of void. Like,
Right.
especially when it's like a man who dies. Like, my granddad died and he provided for us. My dad just died and he's like, that's your father figure right there. Like, so a man, I know, like, one, let me tell you something, like, the devil's only looking for one door.
Right.
And it's easy to take a man and open that door. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, I know what's gonna move her. Let me just drop little him in her life. Like you have to be smart about it. Like, and it's very important to ask them what they believe in. Like,
Yeah. I mean, with the
David
father,
was
a
angry
lot of
though, so
people.
you might need to pray a little bit harder.
Right.
Like,
And there are people that will be sent in your life just because you're looking. Well, not looking. You're waiting. You're in position. I believe that you have to be in position to be found. Like be available, because sometimes emotionally women are not available. And I was saying this earlier today. At first, a man couldn't fit in between my purses and my clothes. You hear me? Because I did not have space for a man. I was not paying anybody attention. I wasn't going to bring them in a drama filled situation. Do you believe that we lie to ourselves sometimes about what it is and what we want versus that comfort? Like, do you think women look for comfort more than they do? Like they get signs. They get signs
yeah,
that
like,
this man is not interested, stuff like that.
especially young girls, like, especially when you don't grow up in the right household, and even if you do grow up in the right household, it's nice to hear a man say you're pretty. It's nice to hear a man say, I love you. Especially if you're not getting it at home, it's way easier to fall into those traps. Even if you are getting it at home, because I have met several girls my age, like their mothers and their fathers love them, and they want someone else to love them. Like,
Hey, that's
I don't
true.
know.
That's true. You can have all the love in the house, but it's crazy because once you get out in this world, sometimes kids forget what they were taught, and sometimes they just want that affection. You are absolutely right. They want that affection from a man. And
Yeah, but
men
like
do it
I'm
too.
very hard on men because of how I grew up knowing about men. Like I have a whole lot of boy cousins, so I know the game. So don't try to throw that on me. Like, don't try me. I know. Like, don't say everything correctly because that's not in your DNA. And then I know like my mom, like she ain't messing with no, anybody. Like you gotta provide, you gotta do this. My grandma said if a man doesn't wake up with money in his pockets, he should put his pants on. Like, but I know like some things you don't take with you, but because sometimes you are gonna be like the backbone for a man. You know what I mean? But that's if you fall. Like a man's supposed to be a provider. Period. Women are natural receivers. I read that T.D. Jakes book, Thou Art Loosened, and we are natural receivers, and y'all are supposed to be givers. So
Okay,
let's
so
not
what
take that.
happened? What do you
Like
think happened? Because a lot of men are like, "Oh, she's a gold digger," because women say that you're supposed to be a provider, which I do believe that a man is supposed to be
you
a
should not
provider.
feel like a man if you don't provide. Like I feel like we need to bring back gender roles. Like men are too feminine and women are too hard. Like
I agree. I agree.
men are acting like sissies nowadays. Like I don't mean to say that like I'm not a homophobic or none of that, but I'm just saying like they be acting like women. Like
There are a lot of passive men. There are, and they're very passive because they just want somebody too. A lot of men will not tell us what they want. It's kind of like you got to figure it out. But a lot of them, they got a lot going on. A lot of
yeah,
men
I
got a
mean
lot
you
going
should
on.
care about how a man feels. Like I'm not saying a man shouldn't cry. I'm not saying a man shouldn't tell you how he feels. But as a man, why am I guiding you?
Right,
Why am I leading the way? Like
right.
that's not what I want. I want somebody who's going to guide me, who's going to lead me. And can we get a man who can read? I mean, like at 22 in 2022, men cannot read. Like if you can't read, I don't want you.
For me, that shows initiative. If you're not going to take the time while you're in your single state to better yourself, like while you're alone, learn to read. While you're alone and you want to be somebody's husband and stuff, hey, get some money. Like, work, get savings. I don't know why. And people can say I'm wrong, but hey, it's what it is. I believe that a man should have a nest. I feel like a man should have a plan before taking a woman as his wife. Because what's the point in marrying you if I'm still going to just struggle and everything else? Two is supposed to make it better. Even in the Bible, it talks about that. A man who finds a wife finds a good thing, and they're blessed. So I think a lot of women, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of women are taking on the role of being the man, and they're okay with that as long as they got a man. What do you think about that?
Yes, like they would go to work, come home. I mean, go to work, let him use their car, give him the gas money, give him the money for the food, slide him the card to pay for the food. Are you silly? Like you worked all them hours just to give your money to a man who's sitting at home playing a game station and picking you up from work? That's not me. Like
Do you think a lot of
that's
women are digmatized? I keep it real. I'm being honest. Do you think a lot of women are to the point where they're like, well, as long as he's giving me good sex, I'll do
so.
anything?
When I moved from Kentucky, because I just lived in Kentucky, and when I moved here to Colorado, I left because I needed to be focused and no distractions. Like
That part.
that's a real thing. Like you can be so like into a person that you're not focusing on what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. Like women get so caught up with these men and stuff. Like, and I'm not talking. We can get off the broke man subject because there's a lot of women who don't even mess with broke men.
Right.
But like when it comes to a man who's just giving you everything, you don't have to do nothing. Like he's giving you everything you need, everything you want. Y'all argue, he's buying you gifts and stuff. I'm not talking about no domestic violence because that's a red flag.
Right. There's none of that.
And
There'll
I
be
will
none
hurt
of
you.
that. Hey, just to throw this out there, men, for real, there's some ladies who's been through some domestic violence and some
I will
domestic
hurt
situations,
you.
and they will hurt you. I don't want you to get hurt, so keep your hands to yourself. Love does not hurt. Love does not hurt, ladies. Him giving you a black eye is not saying I love you. Love does not hurt, but it can hurt if you put your hands
Yes.
on her. It can
But like,
hurt.
even if a man is giving you everything and everything you need, remember you always have to work.
Right.
You always have to do for yourself, because one day he can just up and leave you, or one day it can turn out to be something that it wasn't not meant to be. Like,
I had a client, look, somebody I talked to who her husband passed away. She didn't have to work. She didn't do anything. So she's in a really bad space right now. Some things you never expect are going to happen. I do believe, ladies, yeah, it's okay if you've got somebody taking care of you, but you still have to have a plan. And your main plan should be Christ. Like, don't get so caught up. I don't even care if it's your husband. Don't get so caught up where you make anything other than God your God. Now, we're talking about the dating scene, what else do you feel is important in dating? What are young ladies missing that you see? Like, what if you could give them advice?
I feel like young women need to know their worth and their value. Like, when it comes to me, I'm a hardworking woman. Like, you can't tell me no different. You can't tell me I'm pretty because I already know I'm pretty. Like, don't let him tell you something that you don't think about yourself. Like, and if you're saying your word with God and stuff, like he says in the Bible, like, what thy thinking in their heart is what thy should be. Like, if
Right.
you think you're ugly or you think you're not, like, worthy, then that's what you're going to be. Like, and people can feed off that. People can sense that. People can sense when you have low self-esteem. People can sense when you have anxiety and problems and stuff going on. And some men love to feed off that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you don't give them that. I refuse to give a man, like, to know I'm vulnerable or any of that. Like,
now you have to be vulnerable in some stages. Like, if you're in a relationship, ladies, you have to open up and be vulnerable somewhat. Being with somebody, choosing to love somebody is taking a chance. I'm not saying open your heart to everybody, but if you're with someone and he's giving you the good energy of, he's telling you his secrets and he's talking to you, you can't just be like, okay, well, I'm going to take in all this information so I can use it against him. You've got to give too. You've got to give too. But I do understand what you're saying, though, as far, because some people, they're like wolves. There are women and there are men that are like wolves, and they do seek out these weak people.
Yeah, but like, when it comes to like low self-esteem and like depression and stuff, don't let nobody know what you got going on inside. Like, I don't feel like that should be on the table. Like, because a man can feed off that. Like, if you're not in the right area, or like,
do you think that goes back?
I grew up around a whole lot of men, like a whole lot of boys, uncles and stuff, and men feed off that.
Do you think that goes back to what I was saying, though, about finding out who you are first? Being in your singleness and finding all that out. Like, you're going to run into somebody on that same level, but if you continue to stay in that situation where you're going through all that, then yeah, you're going to have to keep hiding it. But I know for a fact that the Lord will send you somebody who will handle your heart with care. Because I'm not going to lie, did I believe that a few years ago? Hell no. I didn't believe it. But I have somebody who he does. He considers my feelings. He cares. He doesn't do that. I'm going to throw this up and, because I've had men to tell me, oh, you're stupid. You're this, you're that. Your mom didn't even love you. I've had some mean things said, but I knew enough to know better than that. But there are some girls who don't know better. And they'll be whatever a man calls them. So, closing out, I think it's been a good conversation, and I believe that it will help girls. If you could give somebody some advice that's in a situation where they're around your age, they're dating or looking to date, what's something that you would tell them?
We can still be wives. Like, we do not have to be the side piece or mess with other people's men. There are good men out here, and we can be a husband or, a wife. Like, and let's normalize that again.
You heard it from Dage, and I agree. We are somebody. Ladies, you deserve everything that you believe you deserve. And if you're in a situation where you're getting less than you desire and deserve, you may want to reevaluate the situation. But one thing and one piece of advice that I want to leave for every person, no matter the age, take time to ask the Lord to remove people from your life if they're not meant to be in your life, and watch the magic happen. I've had people literally walk away and not even talk to me again after saying that prayer. I love you, sis.